I'm Christopher Sarro, president of Holt Construction. I'm proud to announce that the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, in partnership with American Airlines, URW Airports, has announced a $125 million commercial redevelopment of JFK's Terminal 8. As the project's construction partner, Holt Construction is pleased to partner with URW to introduce our new information and technical assistance program designed to connect you to opportunities available across the 24-month redevelopment of Terminal 8, all part of the Port Authority's $19 billion airport redevelopment program that is transforming New York's airport system. Working with our partners at the Port Authority, American Airlines, URW, and Phoenix Infrastructure, we have designed a special series of programs that will help you learn more about the project, the business and contracting opportunities that are right for your company, and how your business can participate. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to partnering together.
Hello, and welcome to session 2, a preview of our bid packages. So today we're going to talk about our early bid packages that are going out and tips on bidding for work. First thing I'm going to start with is having our panelists introduce themselves. So can we start with Alan?
Alan Bates, Senior Project Manager, Holt Construction.
All right, and Joe?
Joe Martinez, Executive Director of Pre-Construction Services for Holt Construction.
And finally, Rob.
Hi, Rob Cruzan, Senior Project Manager of Holt Construction.
Wonderful. So the first thing we're going to get into is an overview of the project and a relationship to the bid. So starting with you, Rob, can you give us an overview of the project?
Hi, yeah. So this is a $125 million retail redevelopment program for Westfield to upgrade their retail offerings at Terminal 8. The initial phases of the project will focus on expanding the leasable square footage in the terminal and the associated utilities required to support those retail offerings. We'll be infilling 2 ramps and 2 of the walkways with concrete to provide additional floor space for the retail and restaurant customer experience.
Wonderful. And can you also tell us about the current site conditions?
Yeah, so this is an active terminal and will continue to be active throughout the duration of the project. The work areas will be captured using barricades to allow for work to take place securely while maintaining airport operations.
Awesome. All right, and Alan, can you tell us what are going to be the first trades that go out to bid?
The first trades that will go out to bid are the trades associated with the ramp infills and the remove of the walkways. So demolition, electrical, concrete, masonry, terrazzo, architectural metal for the most part.
Okay, great. And now let's get some basics down. Joe, can you explain what is bid scope and bid leveling?
Absolutely. Well, scope and leveling is kind of the same. Scope is what is covered under a particular bid, and then the leveling process or scope leveling is a term that we use in the CMGC community to make sure that all subcontractors' pricing is covered, right? And the same scope is covered. We do that via email. We send out a document that has a fairly detailed scope, provides the drawings, addenda, specifications, and we make sure that each contractor has that scope included in their price. Whatever is not included, we ask that particular contractor put a value to the scope of work.
Okay, great. And now let's talk a little bit about pre-bid walkthroughs. So Alan, can you tell us if on this project there will be pre-bid walkthroughs? And if so, how important is it for a subcontractor to attend the walkthrough?
That's a TBD at the minute. There are specific challenges with getting multiple trades into the terminal to review the conditions, obviously the security challenges and a lot of things there. Ideally, we will do pre-bid walkthroughs, but it might be limited to select trades. Obviously, that would be done once we've sent the bids out. There would be a walkthrough date generated, but there'd be limited flexibility on numbers and the trades that we would invite to that.
Okay, great. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about reviewing drawings. So Joe, should a subcontractor review all the drawings or just the ones that would typically be applicable to their trade? And can you also, just share with us what specifically a subcontractor should be looking at when they're reviewing drawings?
Okay, so my suggestion, I'm not here to tell anybody how to do their particular job or how to run their business, but my suggestion would be, to the best of their ability, try to review every drawing that's in the set. There's several reasons for it. One is there could be details that are not on, let's say, an electrical drawing that we need, and if found on an architectural set, meaning an engineering drawing versus an architectural. But more importantly, when they go into, if they are successful, and when they go into contract, most contracts will be structured as such. They will sign a contract on the entire set of drawings, specs, and addenda. So in order to mitigate their risk, I would suggest at least giving a high level, cursory review of the entire set to see if there is something that is said, let's say, on another drawing that would not necessarily be in their set that they bid on. I'm trying to think, a dry or electrical contractor may look at a reflected ceiling plan, but yet if he goes to a detail and elevation, there are some lights that are hidden there as well. So it would be my suggestion to look at everything.
Great. And you touched on this a bit earlier, but what do you suggest to contractors who don't necessarily have the bonding capacity or satisfy all the insurance requirements?
Well, if you don't have the bonding capacity, I'm going to tell you right now, my suggestion is I would suggest to strongly pass on a particular opportunity. Insurance, on the other hand, is something that I would suggest they contact their respective carrier.
Great. And what are some of the risks that companies should be aware of when bidding their work?
Tons of risk. I mean, that's why we call it estimating. It's really not a science, but one is not reading the specifications. For those who still use paper drawings, not checking scale. A lot of people now use on-screen takeoff, so the scale can basically gets generated by the computer. Not reading all the drawings, architectural through engineering, as we said before. Not reading the schedule that's provided by the CM. A lot of times, you look at a job, you're not reading the schedule, and you find out that there are materials that have exceeded the scheduled time. That can be something that can be a risk. And then just simple calculation mistakes. I can't tell you how many times in reviewing proposals with contractors, they're performing an estimate, and as they're modifying costs or spreadsheets, a formula wasn't carried over. And some other things to do is, I think we were talking about before, site visits. It's very important to get a site visit, especially if it's a type of project you haven't really bid on before, something you're not familiar with. Let's get familiar with the site and see what's going on. If you're looking to provide alternate specifications, make sure that you call it out. So then when it does come time for a contract, you say, hey, listen, my proposal was based on this specification, not what was originally specified by the architect or engineer because of a lead time, because it didn't come in that color anymore, but just because the specification was wrong. So as long as you bring a lot of this stuff up front, it's fun.
Great. Now, we all know that working in the airport environment can be challenging and can impact the bid and comes with its own set of, complexities. So, Rob, you've worked with Holt on both airport and non-airport projects in New York. So can you tell us some specific items that contractors should consider when they're bidding on an airport project specifically?
So the terminal is active, and with that comes security, by Customs, TSA, and LSOC, who control the terminal security. All workers will have to be properly vetted, so we need to make sure that workers aren't on no-fly lists. Additionally, there's time that it takes to get workers in and materials into the space. That's not what you would traditionally see, on a project in New York City. The badging process takes time, and if you're able to get a cited badge, it increases your efficiency, but it's difficult to get materials and people into the space. Additionally, it's active terminal, can't miss any flights, so we have to maintain terminal operations at all times. Additionally, the space is governed by QAD through the Port Authority, not the New York City Department of Buildings. So that could be slightly different than what contractors are typically used to working with.
Great. Now, switching gears a bit and talking more about, again, when you're actually bidding. Joe, what are some key elements you should consider when you're doing your first takeoff for your estimate?
Well, first off, one of the first things you do is this a project that's in your warehouse? If you're not familiar with the aviation or construction in the aviation environment, standard things may not be in your warehouse. It's the same type of rules as Rob was saying earlier, same type of rules that go on a standard retail project, let's say outside of the airport, are not the same type of rules that we have here. So is this project in your warehouse? Is it something you've done before? I mean, I'm not advocating to limiting or siloing your business, but to make sure that it's a project you have the ability to undertake. Do you have the resources for the project? Are you financially able to support the project? So you have to be able to float some money. Is a bond required? Do you have the bonding capacity? As we talked earlier, do you have the insurance requirements? Can you meet them? Do you have the personnel to perform the work? It may be that at the time the project comes out, you probably have the current manpower supply, and then you look at your schedule and you realize that no, your backlog will prohibit you from properly manning the particular project. And I'm sure there's a checklist that we all have. So once you go through that checklist, if you've established that you're going to pursue the project, just go for it. I mean, at that point, you're at a position where you go, you read and understand the drawings. I know it sounds basic, but, and I've said this a lot of times during the estimating process, is kind of build the drawing in your head. Don't just take square footage of ceilings and linear footage of drywall or count outlets and light fixtures. Literally build the drawing in your head. I can't stress it enough to understand the drawings and the specs. It's a common theme in estimating. Before you go, there's like a checklist. I'm sure that every company has it. Make sure you go through that checklist. Make sure it's, because again, everybody, once you put a proposal in or start, you say that go, it's financial. It's money that's coming out of the business to put a proposal together to give either to an architect, engineer, or contractor, or end user, or client.
Great. And can you also explain to us what an RFI is and the importance of submitting them in a timely manner as you're working on your bid?
Yes, great question. I mean, RFIs, it's legitimately what they are, right? It's a request for information. So it's something where the information is just not clear on the drawings. It's a little ambiguous. There is something that would require information to properly price. So these are just questions that normally come to a CM. We normally go through the drawings and have a list of them. A lot of them tend to be duplicated from the trades. We then forward them to the architect. We give them a limited amount of time, roughly around a week, to respond to them. They either come back as addenda or just responses to an RFI. They too become contractual obligations, and they get embedded into the contract as well.
Great. So now let's talk about some issues to avoid when you're bidding. Joe, what are some of the most common errors you see when bids are actually submitted?
Kind of a lot of the stuff we talked about earlier, not reading the specifications, not checking the scale, not going through the complete set of drawings, calculation mistakes. We kind of, we hit upon a lot of this stuff previously, but that's it. And not understanding the job. I think schedule plays a big factor. During the COVID era, we had supply chain issues. Are we 100% out of the woods? No, but we're close. I think some of these factors still have to be thought about when putting bids together, and that you don't make those errors. You don't commit to a product to deliver and you just can't deliver it. So I think, we know in our business that, we're only as good as our last job. We can do 100 great jobs and we mess up one, and that's what we're known for.
Right. And how do you look at bids that come in way lower than the average bids for that trade?
Well, this goes back to what we talked about earlier, that whole leveling process. And unfortunately, the first thing we figure is that the contractor made an error. We call them, we say, I think you should take another look at your bid. You may have missed some scope. There could have been a calculation error. And 9 times out of 10, they say, well, how off are we? In fairness to the other contractors that bid, we tend to just say, we advise you to just take a look at your bid, and then we come back to them. And then that leveling process kind of flushes out whatever potential errors that they would have made. So it kind of flushes itself out.
Okay, so now let's say, a contractor has submitted their bids to us. What do you recommend for the smaller contractors who've never worked with Holt to stay on top of the project? Should they reach out to us after they submitted a bid to check on it and that sort of thing?
Absolutely. I've said this to contractors, especially some of the newer contractors that are working with Holt now. They should definitely follow up. As the old adage goes, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. I'll say it myself. We have a tendency to fall back in our comfort level, in our comfort zone, and we continue to go to the same contractors. And we are trying to get a community of contractors that works together as a team, right? So I would definitely advise any new contractor that's working with Holt to please contact our estimators. They have lots of stuff going on at one time. Some of them may be carrying 5 to 6 bids at a particular time. So they don't get an opportunity to get back to everybody. So yes, definitely contact us and stay in touch with us at all times.
And then if they don't win a bid, should they request a post-bid review with us?
Yes, absolutely. At that point, if we are successful and they were not successful, unfortunately, we will disclose on a percentage basis. We won't go for dollars and cents, but we will tell them where they were high. Thus, again, the leveling sheets, we can actually tell them if they were, particularly low on a particular item, or they were excessively high on an item. So yes, I would definitely do that. Again, we want to have a group of contractors that are our partners, and I think if we help them, they would be happy to bid for us. They would, they'd look to be on our side, and we go in as a team.
Great. And Alan, this one's for you. Can you give us some examples of project risks specifically in the aviation world?
Yeah, I mean, there's a security risk. So all tools should be manifested inside the gang boxes, and they should check those tools. Leaving tools lying around puts us and the contractor at risk of a breach of rules. Additionally, occasionally workers get into trouble outside of the airport. They end up on a no-fly list that will prevent them from having access to the airport and access to the work site. Protecting the public and the passengers from construction, making sure the separation, that's a time-related risk usually, but then it can also lead to some practicalities, getting materials in, etc. But mostly separating the passengers from construction is risk mitigation. On the second floor inside the terminal, there's the baggage operations. There's a lot of moving parts there to that, belts that move at limited notice, and obviously work around that can be hazardous. Working around facilities in terms of their ability to shut down MEPs, electrical services, etc. That's a challenge as well. So that's a time-related risk to the contractors. So those are a couple of examples.
Great. And now, finally, on the upcoming bids that we're going to be releasing over the next few months, Alan, is there anything special you're looking for on these projects?
In terms of that, just, appropriate experience for doing the type of work that we're bidding out. We understand that not everybody will have airport experience, but coming with an understanding, asking the questions, informing themselves, a qualified bid that covers all of the scope at the lowest possible price. Obviously, we're in a cost-sensitive world where we're going to be awarding on the basis generally of lowest qualified bid. Experience I mentioned, and then local contractors and diverse contractors meeting the Port Authority's minority and women-owned business. If they are not a certified women-owned business or minority-owned business, if they have as part of their supply chain certified suppliers, certified vendors or second-tier subcontractors, that would be a tremendous benefit to their bid.
Great. And finally, this is for anyone that wants to answer. What are some tips that you can share with the newer firms who haven't bid on a project of this scale before?
I'll start and Rob or I can add. I mean, the only thing I ask is that contractors communicate, right? If they don't understand something, if they don't understand the drawings, if they don't understand logistics, as both Alan and I think Rob both touched on, just call us. I mean, ask the questions. You know, as the old adage goes again, you know, no question is a stupid question, but especially when you're coming into a new environment, our people know what that environment's like. So I would strongly ask that any new contractor that wants to work with Holt, or, you know, just ask the questions. You know, we can help. We can help. You know, some things may sound a little out of whack from what they're normally used to, but that's the aviation environment. You know, that's what happens here. So please ask questions.
And Rob and Alan, anything to add on top of what Joe just said?
You know, the three things for success is coordination, communication, and execution. So if we do those three things, that's definitely the pathway to success.
All right, great. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to talk with me. And now we're going to switch over to our live Q&A and take some questions from the audience. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining our live Q&A. And we got our panelists back with us, Rob, Joe, and Alan. And we have our special guest, Hirsch, from the Port Authority, who actually the first question is for. So Hirsch, the question for you is, what is the Port Authority's role on this project and with these packages?
Great, thank you, Jessica, and thank you for everyone for joining. So my name is Hirsch. I'm with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. We manage and operate JFK Airport and all of the terminals and associated infrastructure at the airport. American Airlines, which operates Terminal 8, is the one sort of, that's the terminal that we're talking about here. And then American Airlines has contracted with Holt Construction. There's some indirect people there, but yes, that's the relationship that we have here, right? So the Port Authority's role on this project, like any of our projects at JFK, is to ensure that the project is meeting our participation goals, ensure that the project is complying with Port Authority requirements, and ensuring that you know, everything that needs to happen, that should be happening, is actually happening. And what does that mean? So there was reference to, in the preceding segment, diversity and local participation goals, right? So we do expect that Holt Construction and URW and American Airlines, in their build out of these spaces, will achieve a 20% minority and 10% women-owned business participation goal. We expect that they will meet a 3% service-disabled veteran-operated business goal. We expect there to be a strong focus and a prioritization of local businesses. And those are the types of requirements that we will be monitoring, and we will be ensuring that they are the pathway to meet them. So that's on the monitoring and compliance and overview side of the Port Authority's role. But for the businesses in this session, if you also are looking for assistance, you know, you're just not sure where to go, who to talk to, you can't remember people's names after this meeting, you know, we are here as a resource as well. I'm sure you'll hear about this website, but our website is www.anewjfk.com. And that is the clearinghouse for all of the information that you would need on this project or any other projects at JFK. We're here to support you, to guide you, to ensure you have access to opportunities So you can contact us via that website. You can also visit our office in downtown Jamaica. It's at 144-33 Jamaica Avenue. Visit us if you have any questions about certification. If you're not certified, come talk to us and we can help you down that process. If you're not sure who to talk to, come visit us and we can help you and guide you. So we serve a dual role here, oversight and compliance, ensuring that our goals are being met, but also working with the community, working with the businesses to ensure that they have the access to the opportunities that they should have.
Thank you so much, Hirsch. That was extremely informative. Okay, next question, Rob, I'm going to give this one to you. Is there any hazmat work?
Not that I'm aware of at the moment. Anything that's coming up in the upcoming bid package, but who knows what we'll discover. I'm seriously doubting it.
Yeah, I mean, and just keep checking in because you never know what's going to be, come about in the future. Alan, this one's for you. When are the bid packages going to be released?
We're still in the design phase. There should be the early packages which relate to some ramp infills and structural work coming out late August. We anticipate that'll be submitted to the Port Authority, and at the same time we'll go out to the market for pricing. So we encourage the prospective bidders to get pre-qualified with Holt between now and then to enable to be considered for awards.
And just to mention, we're going to have our session next week on pre-qualification, so definitely check in on that to learn the process for that. Okay, another one for you, Alan. Will the packages be broken out into smaller packages for smaller firms to work with prime subcontractors?
Yes, what we'll do is obviously once we've digested the scope of it, we'll do a work package breakdown of each set of drawings that provides as much opportunity as possible for the smaller local firms to participate on the project.
Great. Okay, Rob, this one's for you. What are the payment terms offered to New York State MWB certified firms, either as a prime or a sub? So how often do we pay them?
We're on a monthly billing cycle with the land or with our client. So we submit usually around the first 30-day payment terms for money coming into us, and we disperse those funds once available.
Great.
Jessica, I'm sorry, can I just jump in on that question? It's a related topic. So I heard that the firm is a New York State MBE certified firm. It's important to note on this project, either Port Authority MWBE certification or New York State MWBE certification is acceptable for participation credit. If you're certified by the City of New York or by any other entity, if you're a DBE, for example, that is not going to be able to get you participation credit on this project. So if you're not New York State or Port Authority certified as a minority or women-owned business, please come see us, come talk to us so we can help you with that application.
Great, thank you, Hirsch. That's a great point there. Another one for you, Rob. Are bonds going to be required from the MWBE subcontractors?
I believe that would be better suited for Joe or Alan.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if a bond is required, we will put that in our invitation to bid. It's contingent upon the scope of work and our level of comfort with the subcontractors that we have. So some jobs, yes, some jobs, no. As an overall umbrella on the project, I would say no. It's going to be contingent on the scope packages that Alan and I put together.
Yeah, and just to follow up on what Joe said, anything that is required of you will be put in the bid package when it goes out to you. So you'll know up front when you're, preparing your bid for that.
Yeah.
Okay, Alan, where can they find the contracts to bid on when they become available?
Following pre-qualification, we will issue the bid opportunities via Building Connected. So they would need to get onto the bid list via pre-qualification, and we will send those to the qualified contractors directly.
Great, and we're gonna do, once the bid packages come out, when we do these weekly sessions, we're gonna go through what bid packages are out. We're gonna keep the website updated and all that. So we're gonna try and keep you informed in a lot of different ways. Okay,
Great.
Alan, I think this one's for you. So let's say someone has a concrete supplier they like to work with, and that subcontractor has the bonding and insurance, would that be sufficient? So the concrete material comes from their manufacturing plant and delivered by their cement trucks.
Well, we would procure the concrete. We don't procure the concrete separate from the concrete install. So the subcontract insurances would be via the concrete installer, and their insurances would suffice for the concrete contractor. We would note that there's airside deliveries anticipated for concrete in that specific instance, and we would obviously need to default to the airport auto insurance policies for trucks coming airside.
Yeah, and I think next week's session on pre-qual will also kind of navigate that a little bit more, and you'll get some more information on what insurance and bonding is required when you pre-qual. Okay, Rob, will there be a need for special inspections on this work? So this is specifically KSE. They have been doing some other work at JFK. So is there going to be any special inspections?
Yeah, absolutely. They're usually dictated by the contract documents, but we will definitely have special inspections on these projects.
Yeah, well, Rob, we should just clarify that third-party inspections are by nature an owner direct appointment to any third-party inspector, and it will be whatever Port Authority inspections are required by the scope of the work. So that's something whereby we can take for interested firms contact information, but we should pass that on. That's not something that Holt would pre-qualify. That's something that URW Westfield would engage directly.
Yeah, and if you guys reach out to us, we'll send you over to URW. So we'll get you to the right place, but you can also via the website that Hirsch mentioned earlier, you can go ahead and fill out a form on there and you'll get in touch with URW and they'll be able to help you with that. This next question is for Hirsch. Someone mentioned SIDA badges to gain access to the airport. Does everyone have to obtain a SIDA badge, and how do you do that?
So SIDA is required for access to the secure parts of the airport, which is behind security. So this entire project, I believe, is behind security. So SIDA access would be required. On our Port Authority website, we list all of the requirements for what is necessary to secure your SIDA. There's a background check involved, so on and so forth. So yes, SIDA would be required, and that is done by the Port Authority, but the application would be submitted through, if you're the contractor, you would submit it. If you're an employee working for a contractor, they would submit it. But there's a whole process that would need to be followed, and you can look at the requirements or what's needed to pass the background check on our Port Authority website for SIDA.
Great, thank you so much. Alan, is this a PLA project?
No, this is not a PLA project, it's full union.
Okay, great. The next one I'm going to take is how do I get pre-qualified with Holt Construction? So we're going to have a whole session that's going to go through in detail everything you need to know for the pre-qual. In the meantime, though, if you email info@rfwconsultants.com and just let them know you want to pre-qualify with Holt, they're going to get that over to us and we'll get the package out to you. But I do suggest joining next week as well so you can learn more about that entire process. Okay, the next question is this project prevailing wage or is it union only? Alan, you want to take that one?
I think we just answered that. It's union only.
Union only. Okay, great. What are the insurance requirements? So again, we'll go over this in depth next week, but it's, I believe, 2 million general, 5 million umbrella, 1 million in auto and workers' comp. Again, though, we got our insurance person from Holt on our next week's session, and she's going to go through in detail the insurance that you need, legal requirements, and all those sort of things. Joe, this one should be for you. Should a contractor account for escort cost, or will there be an allowance provided?
Joe, do you want me to take this one?
Yeah, either or, we can both take it. We can.
Okay, so what we're going to try and do is get as many of the trade contractors, the personnel working for them, SIDA badges so they can access the building without escort and we would expect each trade to be inclusive of any access requirements, which includes escorting. So if they're not able to procure cider badges, we would probably deal with that as a contract alternate. It's the trade contractors who have the best idea about the quantity of workers and the duration of their scope of work. So it makes sense for them to include the provision within their subcontract amounts for escorting, at least as an identified amount of breakout cost within their bid.
Great. Does that cover it, Joe, or anything you
Yeah,
want?
no, he did a great job.
Okay, great. Rob, this one's about time constraints. So will there be time constraints, like work can only be done between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. or can work be done during the day?
Majority of the work will happen during the day, typical work hours 7 to 3. However, there will be off work hours, off peak hours that we're going to have to do some of the work, demolition and loud, noisy, dusty work, whatever. This is an active terminal. So we do have to be considerate of the passenger experience while we're working. So set schedule is, 7 to 3. However, there will be certain circumstances where we're operating outside of those hours.
Great. Alan, is this going to be an OSIP or CSIP program?
No, this is just a regular insurance program. So the limits that you described earlier, the subcontractors would be obligated to meet those limits under the pre-qualification with Holt and to participate in the project.
Great. Joe, is there any phase of construction that Holt provides material takeoffs, or is that solely the responsibility of the subcontractor?
That is solely the responsibility of the subcontractor. We do not supply takeoffs for anybody other than our own work, So.
Got it. Rob, if there ends up being hazmat work, would that be airside?
Yeah, it would likely be airside.
Okay. Will there be any vibration, noise, or air monitoring services during this phase? Would that be something we would need?
Potentially.
Okay, that would be a package, I guess, that would come out if we had something.
Yeah, if we do, we would, we would put out a small package for bid there for that. It goes along with the surveys and what have you. It depends what comes out and what the design requirements are, but potentially there may be some.
Great. Joe, is everyone going to be invited to bid or just companies certified with Holt?
Well, anybody can bid, like, you said, as you do ongoing sessions, they'll see what they are, what packages are coming out. We do put invites out during the pre-qual process. Maybe you can just talk about reaching out to us, and saying that they're interested in bidding. So yeah, it'll be open to all contractors.
Yeah.
Provided they qualify.
Right. In order to get awarded, you need to be qualified. But if you're, haven't gone through the whole process yet, you can certainly still bid
Correct.
while you're working on that pre-qual process.
Absolutely correct.
Okay. Will we provide the contact information for all the procurement agents for respective trades, specifically electrical system integration switchgear?
I can take that. What happens at Holt is we normally purchase with our respective project manager, project exec, and estimator. This way they're all familiar with the scope. They're familiar with the pricing. We work as a team when we put these scopes out and these bid packages out. So we don't necessarily have central purchasing. It happens as a team. So the people you see in front of you are the people that are most likely going to be purchasing a lot of the trades.
Okay, great. Alan, will there be wraparound insurance on the project? And then also, would there be any help for small businesses if they can't come up with the insurance?
The wraparound is the same as OSIP. There will be no OSIP for this program. In terms of help for small businesses, it's scope dependent. It's unlikely that we will be able to waive those requirements, but there is for certain lower risk activities the potential for a waiver of the amounts or a method of figuring out how to do that, maybe partnering them with another subcontractor.
Yeah, and that'll be something when you're going through the pre-qual process that'll come to light, and we can have a discussion with you about that, you know, depending on your trade and what's going on, we'll be able to work on those sorts of things. Okay, Rob, will there be any network design work to set up fiber, internet, and wireless and cybersecurity, as well as other related project scope such as that?
On the initial bid packages that are released. Further down the line, potentially.
Okay. This is a two-parter. So first, does Holt have any MWBE pre-qualification criteria? So again, that'll be covered on next week, but you will need to submit proof of your certification so we can check that. And then where will the bid packages be advertised? So that again is going to be during our sessions as they're released, and then on the website. There's two websites, a new JFK.com, which Hirsch mentioned, which has a link to each of the different terminals and the work going on. And then there's also the new JFK.com, which has stuff specifically to the URW Terminal 8 project. So on both of those sites, there will be listed the packages as they go out. And again, we will go over them during our sessions as well. Are all T8 projects, is there a bond required? Are there opportunities for smaller carpentry packages between 300 and 800,000? Rob, you want to take that?
Potentially. On the bid package sizes, I believe that Joe touched on the bonding requirement earlier. That'll be project specific, and that'll be included in the bid request for bid.
Great. This next question is, we're a project management and controls service company that assists in projects in mega airports and achieving their cost and schedule objectives. So is there an opportunity for a firm such as that, even though they don't engage in the construction activities?
Potentially, there would be, you know, if we wanted to outsource some scheduling, there would be a potential opportunity there. They should solicit direct to URW Westfield for specific extension of staff or owner's rep type opportunities.
Yeah, and if you guys do go to the new JFK.com, URW has a whole little form you can fill out letting them know what type of services you provide, what you're interested in, and then they'll be able to, once you submit that, they'll send you to the right person and get you to who can help you with whatever kind of work it is you provide. This next one, I'll take the typical time frame from approval of the pre-qual application. So once you submit it, it takes us probably about a week to go through it, maybe 2 weeks. And if we need clarification from you, we'll go back and forth. But usually a week, maybe 2 weeks, depending. But again, we're going to get into that in a lot of detail in next week's session. Okay, how does a second tier subcontractor get pre-qualified? Janitorial supplies, PPE, small equipment. So second tier subcontractor would not need to be pre-qualified with us. You would contract directly with one of our subcontractors and they would do their process with you. We are going to have a session later on once the packages are released to meet the prime subs. So you can, you know, see if there's pieces of their packages you want to work on or that they can use you for. Can we still bid if our WMBE certifications from Port Authority and New York State are pending? I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, you could definitely still bid, but we would probably want to see those certifications before we actually started work. Does that sound about right, or does anyone have anything to add?
Jessica, if they're a non-MBE firm, they can still bid on the project. It's not a requirement for bidding, but it's a project participation goal. So, you know, ideally, we would be able to have 100% coverage with minority or woman-owned businesses, but if that's just not reality. So non-MBE firms are more than welcome to bid if they've got an MBE status pending. I think that should be definitely communicated. And I guess Hirsch, I don't know whether there's a ability to get these retrospectively accredited if we award to a non-MBE that obtains an MBE during the process of the project performance.
I'll say two things. One is if you don't know why your application is pending, please reach out to us at the Port Authority so we can look into it and advise you if there's any missing information or where it sits in the process, you can email us at JFK Redevelopment, all one word, JFK Redevelopment at panyj.gov. That's JFK Redevelopment at panyj.gov. If you do get awarded a package and your MWBE certification is pending, please let us know that as well, because we can try to expedite the certification, assuming all of the paperwork and information is in order, because the last thing we want is for a business to lose out on an opportunity that they would otherwise be awarded because their certification application is still pending with us. So again, follow up with us, reach out to us. We can look into your application to find out where it sits and what open items remain.
Great. And actually, the next question, Hirsch, was the contact info or email to complete the Port Authority application. I'm going to assume it's the one you just gave.
Yep. So again, email us at jfkredevelopment at panyj.gov. If you have questions about how to get certified, questions about your certification application, or anything like that, email us and we will point you in the right direction. Or you can also visit us in person at our office, 144-33 Jamaica Avenue in Jamaica, Queens.
Great. The next question, if we were previously pre-qualified by Holt under the previous phase at T8, do we need to pre-qualify again? And how can we ensure we are on the bid list? So you do not need to pre-qualify again. If you're pre-qualified with us, you can work on any project with us. You won't need to do that. To ensure you're on the bid list, I would send an email to info.t8@rfwconsultants.com, letting them know that you want to be on the bid list. They'll get that over to us and we'll ensure that you're on it. Rob, is there going to be a scaffolding public protection package?
Not 100% sure on how we'll achieve some of the work. I imagine that we will have some scaffolding requirements. I don't know that that would be part of the initial bid packages. However, there should be a project need at some point, at which point we would, request some bids on that. I'm not sure that we have any in the initial package.
Most
Alan,
of it's
Joe,
interiors
but
and yeah, Rob, most of the work's interiors. If we go with some sort of isolated food court and come up with some access which doesn't go through the sterile process, then potentially we would need a scaffold stair tower, but it's limited opportunities for scaffolding on this project.
Okay, and Alan, how long until the building plans are going to be released? Are we talking weeks, months?
Sorry, can you say that again?
How long until the building plans will be released?
The initial packages, I think, are approximately 4 weeks away, towards the end of August, beginning of September. And then they're going to cascade a little bit. It's going to be broken up into 4 or 5 submission packages to the Port Authority, and lumping like scope with like scope. So between late August, early September and mid to late October is anticipated.
Okay, and does anyone on here actually know who did the renderings of T8 that have been shown at these events? So I think we might have shown it last week on our initial call.
That would be Mancini Duffy, I think.
There we go, Mancini Duffy. Okay, will TWIC cards be accepted for airport clearance?
No.
Okay, that was nice and easy. Okay.
Only cider cards are acceptable for there, and they're specific to JFK Airport. And for construction as well, we would mandate a SWAC card as well. So both of those will be required. There's a waiver if it's a 1 or 2 day operation, but anything longer than that, a SWAC card would also be required. Alternatively, it's appropriate ID, driver license, birth certificate, and social security card, and accompanied by an escort.
Okay, great. The next person is just letting us know they're a Tier 1 Port Authority MBE certified, and they distribute AED first aid kits, provide CPR, AED first aid, and bloodborne pathogen training. I would say for a company like that, you should definitely send an email to info.t8@rfwconsultants.com, just letting us know what you do, and we'll see if if we need that or if any of our subcontractors as well need that. Will there be a need for temporary restrooms and or restroom trailers?
Quite possibly.
Okay. So again, with something like that, I would say send us an email so we have your, your contact information, and this way when and if those types of things come up, we could reach out to you and we already have your information. So that was the last question that we had for today. There is probably, I'm sure there's more questions behind the scenes, but that's all we have time for today. So we will get a list of those questions and we will get answers out to you. Next week, we are going to have our pre-qual session. So everyone on here, you'll get an invite and you'll be able to sign up for that. And again, the RFW email address that you want to email for information, info t8@rfwconsultants.com. And for more information on the project, head to anewjfk.com and thenewjfk.com, and both sites will give you information. So thank you for all the panelists for joining. Thank you for everyone that joined and asked these great questions, and we'll see you again next week.
Thanks, Jessica.
Right, bye-bye,
Thank
Jen.
you.
Thanks, Josh.